who asked me to come to Los Angeles to look at a pilot called Star Trek starring Jeffrey Hunter. And I came to Los Angeles and I saw this wonderful piece of film that I thought needed a little adjustment here and there, but it was really terrific. And I agreed to be in it. And then people made their suggestions, I made some of mine, and we made a second pilot, and then that sold, and that's essentially the story.
And that was the start of history.
And then this started.
Patrick, I have a question for you, Patrick. Okay, you can do an interpretive dance or song. I'm open. Well, Patrick, you're known as a classically trained actor, but I read an interesting quote that you learned how to do good work and also have fun at the same time while filming your series. Can you tell us a little bit about how you were able to transition? There's the interpretation going on right now.
Actually, Scott was asking me about my love life. Is that your question?
We'll take your phone number.
Well, it was like this. I was a pain in the butt when we started shooting the series. For one simple reason, I was scared. And I was scared all the time. Scared that I wouldn't be able to do the job, scared they'd fire me, scared that I would show up one day and I wouldn't know my lines. And so I overreacted to that fear by taking it all terribly seriously. And there is now, I think, almost legendary afternoon when I called the cast, the principal actors of Next Generation together. And as I had the role of the captain and was certainly the oldest actor in the group, I thought it was my responsibility to straighten a few things out. And I told the guys I thought we were fooling around too much, having too much of a good time. There was too much messing about, and that we didn't understand that although we got days off from time to time, the crew and the staff were there 5 days a week, 12, 14, 16-hour days. And I went on in this tone at length. And you should have seen the rolling eyes and the raised eyebrows and the sighs. And so Denise Crosby said, "Patrick, we gotta have some fun." And I said, quite famously, "We are not here to have fun." I blush, I'm ashamed. However, the cast straightened me out. They broke me. Exactly. Did you hear that? What Scott said was they broke me. They broke me, and they did indeed teach me you can do good work and you can have a great time as well. And my lasting memory of Next Generation is laughter.
Very nice. Mr. Avery. The Sisko stare, famous. But I have a question for you, a serious question. You were quoted, I think, by TV Guide, saying that the young African-American male generation really didn't see their future past 19 or 20, and that you felt your character gave them foresight and gave them something to look to. Can you expand on that? And also, do you see any roles in today's television programming that liken to your character?
I can answer the last question first. No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the observation of it. I don't mean anything further. The answer is clearly no.
Okay.
When you deal, you just look at the history of Star Trek, etc. That it clearly spent a lot of time thinking about what it wanted to say before it said it.
Mm-hmm.
You see? So the answer is no. And part of the reason, I think, is the lack of a certain kind of thoughtfulness. I don't mean exclusively, but there it is. But now this idea of of children not being able to see the horizon. Well, I mean, I think that is unfortunately endemic, you know, to this part of the world at least, where we don't remember what happened 2 weeks ago, let alone 20, or do not connect with what went before and why we're here, and therefore where we're going. When you think about children planning their funerals because they don't think they will live, you know, past their teens, that's what I was referring to, not exclusively African American children, but the notion that you could see yourself and see yourself whole some 400 years hence, I think is the most important part of it. And that's what I meant by all of that. Because, you know, it's not about brown children or not. It is, unfortunately, a part of our history where, you know, to be brown and male and American is an issue. It's a hazard. It's part of this inextricable relationship between racism and sexism and, you see, things that we have to figure out yet.
Kate, on the boys. Watching the series, that there was a definite contrast in your femininity between the first season and the second season. That the first season, you were almost made to be manly, and the second season, you were allowed to be a female who was in control. Can you tell us how that came about, how you kind of spoke with the producers and writers about that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
It speaks to Patrick's point, too. If he was terrified as the first Englishman to be cast as the role of Kathryn, can you imagine how everybody felt when the first woman stepped on the bridge? Then, I mean, the people in charge were very, very nervous, right? I was of childbearing years, and I was a girl. I had bosoms and I had hair. And all those people did not fit the demographic. You know what I'm talking about? Mr. Stewart, with all due respect, no bosoms. No hair. So for the first season, they just spent all of their time, all of their energy, and all of their focus on strapping in my bosom, fixing my hair. I had 12 or 15 different hairdos, working with my voice, my stride, and I finally went to them guys and I said, listen, if you don't leave me alone, it's not going to work. Because the audience is smarter than you guys are. That's why it is a vast, universal, highly intelligent audience. They will trust me if you allow me to command this ship. Now I warned you, I missed the gas station. My mistake. Let me correct it by being myself. And let these young men come to me of their own volition. And that's what they did. And that's why in the second season, I was so gloriously sexy.
With Enterprise, when I dual mic going on, just so we get everything, every enunciation. When you were approached, I heard that you were quite nervous about following these other 4 captains, and then when you learned that your series was actually a prequel, you were more open to accepting the role. Can you tell us still about the pressures you felt?
Well, I wouldn't have had my series been after Kate's, I wouldn't have taken the job. And I was thinking all those thoughts in my head because they were expecting me to be jumping up and down. Oh, thank you for that lovely offer to do the show. And I was in my head going, how am I going to say no? And then they said, and the great thing about this, you're 100 years before Kirk. And right in my head, immediately I was in. I was completely there because I knew that I wouldn't have to follow any of these fabulous people And so I could screw up all on my own, and nobody, and you folks who know all of our work better than we know our own work, wouldn't be able to yell at me for, when Kate would take the bridge, she would do such and such, and every time that, so it was a chicken's way out, but happily it worked out.
It did work out. Okay, we're going to go to the audience. I'd like to start over here. Could the first person step up to the mic? There you go.
All right, I have to confess something. I'm not a Trekkie. I've only seen one episode, and I've got two non-Trek related questions for...
Whose episode? What episode have you seen? Be very careful with your answer.
I saw The Trouble with Triples.
Raise your hand so they can tell who's there he is.
My question for Mr. Shatner is, what got you interested in horses? And my question for Miss Mulgrew is, what was it like being Mrs. Strang in Eccles?
So I heard Kate say what, and I'm saying, what was your question for me? Maybe I should answer Kate's question. What was your question?
What got you interested in horses?
Horses.
Yes.
There's a science fiction question. I've always been interested in horses. They're, arguably one of the most beautiful animals. And I've always had a yen to ride and ride well. As I learned to ride and as I practiced more and more, I got to be able to communicate with the animal. You think you're communicating with your dog or your pet because you live with it, but in fact you're talking to it and assuming that the dog or the cat or whatever your pet is understanding you. But you know that the horse is listening to you or not because you're on its back and it's telling you yes, no, or I'm indifferent to this. So there's an actual conversation going on between a horse and the rider. If you're sophisticated enough rider, you can have that conversation. I wish to go here. Well, I don't want to go there. Maybe you'd like, no, I don't want to go there. And you have that conversation, and it's a discussion, and you should win that. You should make moves to make your part of the discussion paramount, because otherwise the horse will do what it wants, and that may involve going into a brick wall. But that's the love of horse, the communication between this beautiful animal and yourself. That's the love of horses.
Thank you. And Kate Mulgrew, my question was, what was it like being Mrs. Strang in Eccles on Broadway?
I don't know because I didn't play Mrs. Strang.
Oh.
I played Hester Salad.
Okay, what was it like?
Well, clearly, since you so enjoyed the performance, what specifically liked about it?
I never saw it.
It's great fun.
Thank you. All right, let's go over here, please.
First, I'd like to say that I am a Trekkie. I appreciate the fact that all of you are wonderful actors and have done so much outside of Star Trek too. So I'd like to know, is there one dream role, either on Broadway or in film, that you've always wanted to play, but you've never had a chance to? And I'd just like to hear from all five of you.